You know that love is the only way to anything that is worth doing, anything that's worth creating, anything that's worth pursuing. It's the only way, it's the only thing. Don't take my word for it. See if it rings true with you. Run it by your heart. See if it feels true. Think about it if you must. Love is the only way. I mean, the evidence of this is if you stop and consider anything that you've done, particularly when you've done it from a place of purely me, or greed. Or need. Have you ever been fulfilled by that? Don't mean momentarily, but I mean, have you ever been nourished by that for any longer than the period of time whilst you're doing that particular thing? It's unlikely. There's this bizarre trade-off that we do in life between what we think we should do to have some kind of security or guarantee of some kind of success. I'm not talking about the day-to-day things in terms of food and shelter and that kind of security. I'm talking about the trade-offs that we make that hold ourselves captive because we're afraid to follow our hearts. We're afraid to follow our actual path. We're afraid to acknowledge who we actually are, what our strengths are, what our talents are. I may have said this before, but I remember a few years into my career as a coach and a speaker, I remember that I would have all these people who'd come to see me, person after person, whatever it is that they were doing in their career, in their business, whatever, and there would be this notion that they weren't quite where they should be or where they could be, or at some point, if things were slightly different or better, then they would be where they should ideally be. And they would see themselves as not complete in some way. But all that struck me, that I started to see, were these just wonderful people sat there staring at me. I didn't see the faults, the lacks that they perceived. I didn't see it. I had the story, had the notion, but that wasn't what I saw. So, love plays a big part in this, doesn't it? Because it might be that you're in a place whereby, like a lot of people I meet, see, work with, that there's been a real lack of compassion, as I'll put it, to oneself. There needs to be a greater connectedness to oneself, to really discover one's own magic. It happened earlier today. I was working with somebody who's had an extraordinary life, overcome extraordinary things, and with wonderful gifts. She struggled to see, but I just pointed out to her the magic that she has. I mean, it's just evident there if you look at her career and what she's done personally and professionally. When she sees this, then she will follow her heart. People think that following your heart is some mamby-pamby, nonsense, airy-fairy kind of thing. But actually there's real power and there's real potency in it. So that brings real courage. So that means that somebody's really going to make a real contribution here whilst they're here on this planet for this, it's relatively speaking, such a short period of time. Don't you deserve that? Don't those you love deserve that? Doesn't this world deserve that? Wouldn't this world value that more than the things that you're toying around with? So love is the only path, it's the only way to anything that's worth doing, pursuing, having, holding. It's there waiting for you to embrace it, to embrace you, to reconnect to yourself, and to follow your own innate path that will become clear to you the moment that you do.